This is round 3 of the tournament that we had at Portland Game Store in Portland, Oregon. 4-round Swiss. Top of the screen is Steve playing a Fire Druid deck, and then I am at the bottom of the screen here, also playing a Fire Druid deck. We have very similar decks here, so this is effectively a mirror match. I don't know Steve's exact composition on his deck. Mine is very close to Julian's Fire Druid deck. Julian just took first place at SCG Con in Baltimore using this deck. I think I may have like 1 or 2 deviations from his list. Otherwise, it is pretty similar. Turn 1, Steve playing a Wizard's Den, getting the card draw, summoning Tawny, passing turn. Turn 2, turn 1 for me. I have the exact same play, so Wizard's Den, draw a card, summon Tawny, pass turn. Wizard's Den probably more optimal as a first turn play for Fire Druid, just to keep it on the back row, make it harder for your opponent to get to it, to force that discard. Turn 2, Steve plays a Bonfire into the center and moves Tawny forward. And then 2 mana for turn. Now he's playing a Violamp to get it. I think to get it into position. And I believe after this game, I talked to Steve briefly just about general strategy, and I've also talked to other community members in our local group, and then basically, like, if you're playing an aggressive deck when you're on the play going first, I think it is more advantageous just to hold on that turn 2 drop. A lot of the times you feel pressured to put something on the board, get into position so you're ready to strike on the next turn, and make use of your mana on curve. But I think that is somewhat of a trap, depending on your matchups. Especially right here, we see Steve kind of getting that Violamp out, not taking advantage of the Genesis, getting into position to threaten, and then on my turn, I played the Desert to ping Tawny, and then a Violamp, my own Violamp, to remove his Violamp from the board. Steve playing a Desert to ping my Tawny off the board on this turn, resummoning Tawny, and then 3 for a Morgana, which is technically an illegal play on turn 3 for him. He doesn't have 3 threshold to cast that, but neither of us catch that mistake. And also, I don't think that was really like an optimal play for him anyways, even if you could cast the turn 3 Morgana and had 3 fire threshold, just because it doesn't do a lot of work for you immediately. In Julian's Julian's primer for his deck list, and kind of like his thoughts on his deck lists, which are very similar again to these decks that we are both running, he views the top end of the fire spectrum in this aggro deck as more of a like speed bump threats and less of kind of getting immediate value out. So in his opinion, something like a Morgana should be played like closer to like late mid game or end game to create a threat on the board. Maybe allow you to get 1 spell cast off same turn, and then kind of force your opponent to have to deal with it to remove it. Early game though, I mean, like Steve, he hasn't been able to make use of the spells yet. Morgana's still sitting around there. It is a danger, just because if I have, for example, a minor explosion, I can move Tawny up and kind of deal 3 points to everything there and sweep Morgana off the board before he even gets a chance to take advantage of it. He's going to tap for a bonfire. Can't make use of the Genesis, but gets a resummon on Tawny. He's looking at Morgana's hand. Like he wants to be able to recoup some of that value as soon as possible, just because that there is that threat that it gets removed. It is a high value target when it hits the board here. Potentially a little harder to remove just because of the stealth. He is moving. I think he's moving to reposition Morgana. I think he's thinking about it though. Yeah, he's just double checking the position that he wants on it. So he's rolling that back really quick while he decides on kind of what he wants to do. Like, I think he's strongly considering casting a spell for Morgana, and then he may have to reposition, or he may choose to do a reposition just to get her into a different place on the board. I mean, it's difficult. There's more pressure on Steve right now. I mean, I have a Violent threatening in. I've got the Coliques threatening in here. The Coliques, I think, almost guaranteeing to kill Tawny next turn if he doesn't remove it. So I think the card in his hand is from Morgana's spell hand. So I think we're gonna see that play here. 4 mana for turn in his pool currently. Four mana for turn. He's thinking long and hard. He's thinking long and hard about what he wants to play. I mean, likely he only has the mana in mana pool to cast 1 out of 3 of those spells from Morgana. So, in the likely event that Morgana gets removed on my next turn here, he's got to make it worthwhile. He's I think he's calling. He's taking a step up with Morgana to get it into range, and then casting Minor Explosion from hand. I think it would have been a little bit more beneficial for him to go ahead and just declare an attack on the Violent with Morgana. Morgana is 3 power, so attacking the Violent would remove the Violent from the board at least, and she's already going to lose stealth anyways when she casts the spell. So if we're talking about optimal plays here, that would have been I think that was the more ideal sequence of play for him, to remove the Violent by attacking it, and then he's in the exact same position that he is already in right now. My turn here, I believe I drew a spell, or a sight, excuse me, for turn on turn 4, tapping to play the sight. I think I'm just debating positioning. Yeah, if River of Flame comes out, Tawny will resummon to River of Flame. And then 4 mana for turn in my mana pool. I think it is in my best interest here to remove Morgana, and there is my chosen removal there. Fire Bolts for 3 points of damage. And then because Steve left that Violent there, I'm going to attack into the Wizard's Den, which will also force a discard as the first attack on the Wizard's Den in the game. Steve choosing to discard out the Grim Gasarme And I think he was just joking during our game that when he discarded it, that it just felt more dangerous in a mirror match to kind of leave that there, unless you can get like a definitive early alpha strike with it. It becomes a liability on the board. I'm spending 2 out of 4 of my mana for Warhorse. I think I double checked position on that, and then chose to cast it onto the Forge and then attack in to the desert. So 4 points in total that turn. Steve beginning his turn. Currently with 4 manas, mana pool. Tawny is available, but all the way at the edge of the board there, on that bonfire summon. Bonfire is a site. Bonfire is a site that ends up, I think, in a lot of these aggressive fire-heavy druid decks, just as kind of extra insurance in case you run into problematic armor or artifacts. I personally like. I don't. It doesn't factor in. It doesn't come up that often, at least in the local games that we play. It has very rarely been relevant for me so far. I mean, in my mind, I think most likely you would be using it to try to take care of a lance that a player kind of couldn't take advantage of fast enough. And then in corner case, maybe like a battle mage matchup, you could take out some of their equipment, or you could potentially, if you had a Grimghost army and were able to strike in, you could then like bonfire to remove it. Playing kobolds on my turn here. Double checking positioning, and like ultimately I decided to move it back and summon it to that desert, to strike. Both positions, the desert or the forge, would strike Tawny at end of turn. But I wanted the kobolds in position to be able to attack up to that center bonfire, and then also be able to strike if it survived the druid on my next turn. So the kobold's threatening to do 4 points of damage if he doesn't have a blocker or a way to remove them on my next turn here. Steve, taking a look here, I think he's probably feeling pretty backed into a corner at this point. I've got a lot of pressure on the board right now, and so he's got to come up with some ways to kind of remove my pieces and help stabilize this game. So he's thinking long and hard about kind of what he can make happen here optimally with what he has in his hand. 4 mana in his mana pool again. Trying to take a peek at what he has in his hand up there. I think we saw the Torse Hammer. He's got a Torse Hammer. It's not going to help him when he doesn't have a minion on the board. He has an Immolation, which is a great removal spell. It is just kind of a bummer when you don't have a high value target to target with it and take advantage of it. I've got a lot of pressure on the board, but it's pretty low power pressure at this point. I've got that Violamp, I've got a Tawny, I've got Kobolds. He is tapping to play a Sinkhole, resummoning his Tawny onto the Sinkhole. 5 mana for turn. I think he's got a card, looks like he wants to play. What do we got? Siege Giant. Playing a Siege Giant. Siege Giant for 4 on the Tawny's site. And then paying 1 to cast the Immolate to remove the Kobold. So I mean that kind of feels like a bad trade for him. Just having to spend an Immolate just to kill the Kobold, but I think he was getting nervous about the damage potential that the Kobold could do if it got into position next to his Druid. And I'm not entirely sure about the thought process on where he chose to cast the Siege Giant, but he did use the Siege Giant to throw Tawny up, to move Tawny up onto the River of Flame. I think it almost would have been better to maybe play the Siege Giant more defensively, back onto his Druid home site to be able to defend against Violamp, to be able to defend against Tawny. Just depending on kind of how I choose to use those pieces on my next turn here. Starting my turn. I think I drew a spell for turn. And turn 5, I am with this deck. I'm typically tapping for a site, and unless there's a reason why I need to kind of change that order instead. But I'm going to go ahead and attack in with the Violamp and Tawny for 3 points onto the Wizard's Den. Paying 4 for a Pact with the Devil to sacrifice Tawny. Draw 3 cards. I want more cards in hand at this point. And it seems like a good nexus to go ahead and do that. Just because I was pretty high up on health. I felt pretty good about that. Plus, I was able to do the play that you just saw here. And I take that back. We might be on... Are we on turn 6 at this point now? I might have miscounted the turns. Because I had that desert, so... I had that desert already in hand, so I tapped to play it to ping Tawny, resummon my Tawny, and then with point of mana, recast or cast my own Immolate to take out the Siege Giant. Steve, again, I think making just feeling like he's boxed into a corner here, making like a suboptimal play by having to advance forward with his Druid up to the bonfire, and then casting the Fire Breathing to remove the Violamp. And that was his play on that turn. I think it probably hurts to have to do that, but I would imagine he felt pretty cornered in at that point, taking 2 points of damage every turn from that imp. Tawny attacking in with 2 Taurus Hammers for 3 points of damage, and playing a Kobold to the desert in the center. End of turn, the Kobolds will strike the Druid now that he's advanced forward into a position I can do that for 2 points. Bringing him I think down to 3 at this point. Dangerously close to door. He's tapping for a sight, which is surprising that he'd tap for a sight. But I mean, taking a peek at his hand, I think I see what he's trying to do now. So he's tapping to play out the Forge, brings him to 6 mana. We'll resummon Tawny to the Forge. 6 mana for an Infernal Legion in his hand. He's going to play that to his center bonfire. So, the end of turn, the Infernal Legion's ability will trigger. It'll do 3 points of damage to everything adjacent. So that includes his own avatar, so that'll door him. But it will also remove, it'll also clear the board of my minions, remove the Kobold, which is a real threat once he gets the Death's Door, and also take care of my Tawny. So, I mean, not the, not the dream play to bring yourself to door, but I mean, when you have, he's down to 1 card left in his hand now, so his options are limited. I think probably better to clear board, get that threat out onto the table, and then if he can stick it on this next turn, he is in position to attack in with it and deal 6 plus combust at the end of my his next turn near my druid for like 9 points in, which is a huge swing. If you don't have an answer to the Infernal Legion at that point, it's going to be problematic. However, I had a couple kill conditions in my hand, so I stepped forward with my druid, so I was adjacent to him, and then I used a Shadow Strike to deal that last point of damage to him at door. So it's a good game. Again, like, our decks are very, very similar, and I think just kind of mostly what it came down to is that he just didn't find himself in a position where he could make favorable trades, unfortunately. That is round 3 of this tournament, and we'll move to round 4.